Good morning, YouTube. It's Friday, November the something or other, 6th. I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen with crazy sunlight coming in, so I'm going to be ghosty and not ghosty. I apologize. It's cold enough that I've turned the heat on in my house for a little bit, only up to 66, but I had to get it out of the 50s. I've got socks on, and I need like one of those snuggy blankets that I can sit here in. We're doing a review today. We're doing the really fascinating Sherlock Holmes Tarot. Now this is by John Matthews and Will Kinghan. It is published by Sterling Ethos. And look at that book. That is a sizable, that's a big size book. This is a nice box. Now the only thing I don't like about the box is that I couldn't open it easily. I have insets that fell in here. But they've got nice pockets, little plastic pockets. And when it closes, y'all, you hear that? That's closed, right? That is done. Beautiful box. Tells you what it is. Not on this side and not on that side. But on the two sides that count, it does if you're showing it off on your bookshelf. And we do have different suits. We have observation, evidence, analysis, and deduction. And they're shown off by an eyeball for observation, a footprint for evidence, a magnifying glass for analysis, and a question mark for deduction. And there's swords, wands, cups, and pentacles. Now, John Matthews knows his tarot stuff. My gosh, I can't even see myself. Okay, there we go. That's kind of wild. And he also knows his Sherlock. My husband is a huge Sherlock fan. I was going to actually ask him sweetly to help me with this review, kind of go through it. But I got to tell you, the minute I told him who the Fool was, he said, oh yeah, he's a fool. And that's Inspector Lestrade. Now, I'm not a huge Sherlock fan. I love Elementary. I like the Benedict Sherlock. But the older stuff, yeah, not so much. But my husband's very analytical, so it really appeals to him. I tell him he's my Sherlock. In here, we have an introduction about Holmes. And this is called The Wisdom of Holmes and Watson, Evolution of a Legend. I never guess. It is a shocking habit, destructive to the logical faculty. That's from the story The Sign of Four. But it talks about the man behind the store, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And it talks about who the real Holmes was said to be, when it started, how it's gone on, and whether or not Sir Arthur Conan Doyle would have approved of tarot. And what they say is, how would Holmes himself have regarded a tarot? He might have dismissed it as a foolish dependence on pieces of card with images upon them. Or he might have conceded that they offered clues in the great game of detection. Certainly, he seems to have possessed no degree of personal spirituality, so the idea of Holmes attending church or a seance, other than to uncover what he thought would have been seen as a sham, is unlikely. Doyle himself, however, would almost undoubtedly have found the idea fascinating. He lost his wife in 1906, his son in 1918, his brother, two brothers-in-law, and two nephews, all during or shortly after the First World War, and he became fascinated with spiritualism and the paranormal. He was a member of the Ghost Club for several years. He even wrote a novel called The Land of Mist, featuring Professor Challenger. He penned a book called The Coming of Fairies, who actually succeeded in photographing actual fairies. Despite later evidence that the photos were faked, no one has succeeded in demonstrating how this was done, and for Doyle, it was unquestionably a reality. So it's a very interesting book if you like background, and I do. Then it talks about the cards and their meanings. It gives you the major arcana, which have mostly been renamed. The Fool is Inspector Lestrade. Irene is the High Priestess. I'm going to show you some as well. But if you're a Sherlock fan, I think you will love this deck. And if you're a tarot fan with even a mild interest in Sherlock, I think you're going to enjoy it. Not sure I could read with it, and that's because the suits would scramble my brain. But if I'm just reading as how the story is told, yeah, definitely. For writers, this might be a really fun deck to write some mysteries with. It talks about the game. It summarizes the main meanings of the card, and the fog lists some of the reversed meanings. So they really stuck with the Holmesian universe. There's a wild card, the Giant Rat of Sumatra. So let's take a look. And the major arcana starts off with, when you have eliminated all which is impossible, then whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. And that's from the Blanched Soldier. And that's also, I think that's a quote from somebody else, but I'm not sure. So let's take a look at the cards themselves. First, let's look at the back, which are very simple and very reversible. And they are the infamous 22-1B, which is the residence of Holmes. Even I know that. Here's Inspector Lestrade as the Fool. Have him stepping very close to an edge, seeking, looking, brashly going forward with his gun out. It's a nice Fool. It talks about questing and the childlike, I'm just going to go look. The next one I chose is the Handsome Cab, or the Chariot. Things to look at here are Holmes and Watson in the carriage. One of them, I believe it's Holmes, I'm not sure, has his gun out. There's only one horse, so that's an interesting piece for me. But I like it. It's forward moving, it's going. And you can also see the driver as the other horse, because in this, you have to depend on the handsome cab driver and the horse. You're not really driving yourself. So that may be how I would key into that piece of the Chariot that's important to me as a reader. Death, the Gallows, and it's got sandbag on it, so it hasn't been used yet. You see way down the corridor of the jail. So nice representation of death. The devil is, of course, Moriarty. And we see the shadow figures in the background, people moving to his machinations, to his specifications. So he is indeed a devil. And that card just jumped off. I just laid it down and it slid right off. Moriarty, get out of my lap. Now, because I don't know Holmes well enough, the star puzzles me. The blue carbuncle. Now, obviously, it's a gem. Obviously, it's a goal. Obviously, it's something he's after. It's So I can understand that as a goal. I need to know more about the backstory on that to really nail that in my head for what that means. I love the world. The world amuses me because Sherlock is reading the London Times. And in his world, the London Times were indeed the whole thing, right? That was it. Now, it does have Watson in the background. You can see, I believe, that's Buckingham, where it's one of the cathedrals in the back. Interesting enough, you see Final Weakness on the back. So it starts at the Empire and Final Weakness. So that kind of, for me, creates that circle that I like to see in the world card. And I really like the images. I like the coloring. I like that it's kind of foggy and dim and what you might expect during the Victorian age when they didn't have a lot of electrical lights, right? Then we have the Ace of, oh, what is it? The Ace of Deduction? Is that the first one? No, no, no. Deduction, analysis. What are they? Well, I pulled my little thing out. Observation, evidence, analysis, and deduction. So observation is swords. What you see, that's a mental, right? And here is our Ace of Observation, our Ace of Swords. So there's a gun on the floor. Can't tell if that person's dead or not, might be. Then the Ace of Evidence, Wands. This is footprints. Definitely got the fire element going there with all that light in the background. Ah, and it's Holmes playing the violin. So this ace may be Holmes and Watson learning the techniques of observation. Then we go to the Ace of Analysis. If you watch the TV show Elementary, this makes me laugh because that's very much how the Holmes character in that approaches things. So all the clues are laid out, but the game is still afoot because he doesn't know anything. He's simply deducing, analyzing, because deduction, Pentacles, is last. Look at him crouch down. He's ready to get up. He's ready to go forward, and he's in a dark cellar. So things are happening. He knows things now. I picked the threes to show you. The three swords of observation. Now, we don't have three of anything here, really, do we? Well, we have three newspapers, it looks like. So, observation, air, mental, learning, the Three of Swords. And it can also be heartbreak and betrayal and treachery. I don't get that from this. Again, I need to know more about the books, right? So I'm hampered as a reader and a reviewer because I don't know the stories really well. But I think that once I read and learn this, I think this will be a deck I need to really just sit down and peruse the book. And because it's Holmes, I think it'll be really fun to kind of gather all that knowledge. And I may have to grab my husband's collected works and read a little Shakespeare. Now here's the Three of Cups, analysis. Oh no, I'm sorry, we didn't. This is Three of Evidence. Again, we've got that nice red in the background for that fire hit for wands. And we definitely have at least 3 things down here in terms of the evidence that he's looking at. He's got a gun and bullets, a map, a journal, cigarettes, and a binoculars. So he's looking. And then the next one, I'm putting these in the wrong groups. La 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 la. Sorry about that. Get over here. The next one is cups or analysis. He's writing down, he's going over his notes, he's compiling, he's analyzing what he's learned. So a nice 3 of Cups there. 3 of Cups traditionally is joy and mirth and reverence and gaiety. I suppose that would be a very enjoyable task for Sherlock, is to be putting his evidence together and coming up with his conclusion so that he can get to the deduction. The 3 of deduction, the 3 of coins. Look, they're crafting a mask. Now, the 3 of coins is a hands-on card. It is a card of togetherness, a card of working together. And this is somebody working with someone else. They're either putting an eye in, pulling it out. But this is definitely a nice 3 of coins here. Now, I pulled out the Deduction or Pentacle court cards. They are, the page are Baker Street irregulars. So just the people that show up on Baker Street, just the cast of characters. And again, I might need to know who this is. It's a man, the child might be a pickpocket, would be my first guess, but I'm not sure. He might be a runner, he might be, you know, a paper boy. The next card is the Knight, but in this it's the Peeler, or the Bobbies. And so this is the Knight of Earth, the Knight of things getting done, the Knight of tasks, and he's physically engaged. So that physical engagement works for me. There's no animal, but that's okay. He's guarding something. The Queen is a lady, and they're just different ladies. I don't know which ladies they are, if they're all Irene Adler or not. Irene does show up as the High Priestess. The Empress is the Queen Victoria, and the Emperor is her Prince Consort. But here we have a Lady of Deduction, a Lady of Pentacles, who has killed someone. She's got the smoking gun. I think this must be Irene. But way back in the back, look in the curtain there. You see Holmes peering through? And then the last is the Inspector. It's Holmes himself as the King of Deduction, the King of Coins. I love that he's in a very brick building, looking out, gazing down over his purview of what he can see. Now, the wild card, the Giant Rat of Sumatra. And it's a wild card, so you can use a wild card how you like. I'll just show it to you. Kind of a scary looking creature there, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed this little ramble through the world of Sherlock Holmes, through the tarot of Sherlock Holmes by John Matthews and Will Kingham. Sterling Ethos is the publisher. I will put a link down in the bottom. And I'm very appreciative to Sterling Ethos for sending me this review copy when I requested it. I saw it and I wanted to check it out. And I wanted to show y'all what I learned about it. And I think it's a deck that people may really, really enjoy. I think it would be a really fun deck to take to parties and do readings there and do group readings with other people who are Sherlock Holmes enthusiasts or Sherlock Holmes wannabes, which I think is what I am. I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen. Thank you for joining me in my review of the Sherlock Holmes. The Sherlock Holmes Tarot. Seek joy, y'all. Pass it on.